There are many reasons why I was anxious to accept your generous invitation and to come to this country. As you said, 8 of my grandparents left these shores in the space almost of months and came to the United States. No country in the world, in the history of the world, has endured the hemorrhage which this island endured over a period of a few years of so many of her sons and daughters. These sons and daughters are scattered throughout the world, and they give this small island a family of millions upon millions who are scattered all over the globe, who have been among the best and most loyal citizens of the countries that they have gone to, but have also kept a special place in their memory, in many cases their ancestral memory, of this green and misty island. So in a sense, all of them who visit Ireland come home. In addition, Mr. President, I'm proud to visit here because of you, an old and valued friend of my father, who has served his country with so much distinction, spreading over the period of a half a century. He has expressed in his own life and in the things that he stood for the very best of Western thought and, equally important, Western action. And then I'm glad to be here because this island still fulfills a historic assignment. There are Irishmen buried many thousands of miles from here who went on missions of peace, either as soldiers or as churchmen who traveled throughout the world carrying the gospel, as so many Irish have done for so many hundreds of years. So, Mr. President, with the special pride that I feel in my country, which has been so generous to so many immigrants from so many different countries, I want to say that I'm happy to be here tonight. Mr. Mayor, Chairman of the Council, Mr. Minister, my friends, I want to express my pleasure at being back from whence I came. There is an impression in Washington that there are no Kennedys left in Ireland, that they're all in Washington, and so I wonder if there are any Kennedys in this audience. Could you hold up your hand and so I can see? Well, I'm glad to see a few cousins who didn't catch the boat. We're glad to... And I'm glad to take part in this ceremony this morning for John Barry. I've had in my office since I was president the flag that he flew and the sword that he wore. It is no coincidence that John Barry and a good many of his successors played such a leading part in the American struggle, not only for independence, but for its maintenance. About 2 months ago, I visited the Battle of Gettysburg, the bloodiest battlefield in the American Civil War. And one of the monuments to the dead was to the Irish Brigade. In Fredericksburg, which was another slaughter, the Irish Brigade was nearly wiped out. They went into battle wearing a sprig of green in their hats, and it was said of them what was said about Irishmen in other counties. War-battered dogs are we, gnawing a naked bone, fighting in every land and clime for every cause but our own. It seems to me that in these dangerous days, when the struggle for freedom is worldwide against an armed doctrine, that Ireland, in its experience, has one special significance. And that is that the people's fight, which John Boyle O'Reilly said outlived 1,000 years, that it was possible for a people over hundreds of years of foreign domination and religious persecution, it was possible for that people to maintain their national identity and their strong faith. And therefore, those who may feel that in these difficult times, who may believe that freedom may be on the run, or that some nations may be permanently subjugated and eventually wiped out, would do well to remember Ireland. And I'm proud to come here for another reason, because it makes me even prouder of my own country. My country welcomed so many sons and daughters of so many countries, Irish and Scandinavian and German, Italian, and all the rest, and gave them a fair chance and a fair opportunity. The Speaker of the House of Representatives is Irish of descent. The leader of the Senate is of Irish descent. And what is true of the Irish has been true of dozens of other people. In Ireland, I think you see something of what is so great about the United States. And I must say that in the United States, through millions of your sons and daughters and cousins, 25 million, in fact, you see something of what is great about Ireland. So I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to have connected on that beautiful golden box the coat of arms of Wexford, the coat of arms of the kingly and beautiful Kennedys, and also and the coat of arms of the United States. That's a very good combination. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Mr. Aiken, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored by this generous gift, and also once again reminded that the Irish have not lost their ability to speak. That was a beautiful welcome, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask how many people here have relatives in the United States. Perhaps they could hold up their hand if they do. Well, I want to tell you they're doing well. I would like to introduce two or three Irishmen who came with me. One is the appointment with greeter at the White House, Dave Powers, who's got, I think, 7 first cousins here, and who's sitting in the front row. Perhaps he'd stand up, and all his cousins. He looks more Irish than they do. But, you want to stand up and turn around so they can see you, Dave? And then I'd like to introduce to you the pastor at a church which I go to, who comes from Cork, Monsignor O'Mahony. He's the pastor of he's the pastor of a poor, humble flock in Palm Beach, Florida. So. And then I'd like to have you meet, I don't think he comes from Cork, but his family, but nevertheless, he's our legislative assistant at the White House, who came over with us, Larry O'Brien. Perhaps he could stand up. Turn around. That's his cousin. That's his cousin from Cork who's sitting next to him. And also a congressman who represents about 85 members of the House of Representatives who are Irish, Congressman Boland from Massachusetts, who came with us. I don't want to give the impression that every member of this administration in Washington is Irish. It just seems that way. In any case, we're delighted to be here. Coming in, I met four rather angry Fitzgeralds. And they said they're tired of hearing about the Kennedys and Lew Ross, and what about the Fitzgerald? And I said that was because my grandfather who was mayor of Boston, John F. Fitzgerald, used to tell everybody he was from Limerick and Donegal and Galway or wherever it might have helped. I want to have another Irishman, Jim Rowley. Come out here, Jim. He is head of the United States Secret Service, and he's those members of the Secret Service who aren't Irish are embarrassed about it, but we'll make them honorary freemen today, too, Mayor, if that's all right. I want to bring you today greetings from the people of Galway, New York, Dublin, New Hampshire, the people of Killarney, West Virginia, Kilkenny, Minnesota, the people of Limerick, Maine, and the people of Shamrock, Texas. All those... Most countries send out oil or iron, steel or gold, or some other crop, but Ireland has had only one export, and that's been people. They've gone all over the United States, and the United States has been generous to them. And I think it not unfair to say that they've been generous themselves and with their sons and daughters to the United States. What pleases me most about coming here is not only this connection which all of us in America feel with Ireland, even though time and generations may have separated us from this island, but also because I find here in Ireland those qualities which I associate with the best not only of my own country, but of all that we're trying to do and all that we're trying to be. The world is a small place today, and it seems to me, important that we recognize the kinship which exists between all free people. We are in a most climactic period, in the most difficult and dangerous struggle in the history of the world, in the most difficult and dangerous weapons which have ever been devised, which could annihilate the human race in a few hours. So I think it is important that those of us who happen to be Irish descent and come to Ireland recognize an even stronger bond which exists between Ireland and the United States, between Europe and the United States, between Latin America and the United States, between people of Africa and people of Asia, between all people who wish to be free. That is the most important association, the most important kinship. And I come to this island, which has been identified with that effort for 1,000 years, which was the first country in the 20th century to lead what is the most powerful tide of the 20th century, the desire for national independence, the desire to be free. And I come here in 1963 and find that strong tide still beats, still runs. And I drive from where we arrived to here, and am greeted by an honor guard on the way down, and nearly half of whom wear the blue ribbon, which indicates service in the Congo. So Ireland is still old Ireland, but it's found a new mission in the 1960s, and that is to lead the free world, to join with other countries of the free world, to do in the 60s what Ireland did in the early part of this century, and indeed has done for the last 800 years, and that is associate intimately with independence and freedom. So I must say, Mr. Mayor, that when I'm retired from public life, that I will take the greatest pride and satisfaction in not only having been president of my own country, but a free man of this city. Thank you. Faculty and officials of these two great universities, ladies and gentlemen. This city, these schools, this country has certainly done more than it should have to show friendship for my own people and to honor my country. I must say, as the recipient of this outpouring of goodwill for the United States, I am most grateful to you all, feel most indebted not only to all of you here who hold positions of responsibility, but to all the people of this city, which has welcomed us so generously, in this country, which has made us feel so very much at home. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for the honor you've done me this afternoon, and also through you to express our thanks to the people of Dublin. I can imagine nothing more pleasant than continuing day after day to drive through the streets of Dublin and wave. And I may come back and do it. I want to also say how pleased I am to have this association with these two great universities. I am now feel equally part of both. And if they ever have a game of Gaelic football or hurling, I shall cheer for Trinity and pray for National. It is appropriate to have this opportunity to form this association because Ireland and education have been synonymous for nearly 2,000 years. For so many hundreds of years, this country had colleges and universities of 2,000, 3,000, and 4,000 students in the darkest ages of Europe, which served as the core, as the foundation for what became the Enlightenment and the religious revival of Europe. The country was wise enough to see in days that were past that when it finally became independent, that it would need educated men and women. Democracy is a difficult kind of government. It requires the highest qualities of self-discipline, restraint, a willingness to make commitments and sacrifices for the general interest. And also it requires knowledge. My own country, in its earliest days, put the greatest emphasis on the development of education for its citizens. In the Northwest Ordinance, which was drafted by Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, it was provided that a section of land would be set aside in every 30 sections in order to educate the people. Thomas Jefferson once said, if you expect the people to be ignorant and free, you expect what never was and never will be. And in the height of the Civil War, when the outcome was most uncertain and the results in doubt, the United States Congress, under the leadership of Abraham Lincoln, passed the Morrill Act, which established our land-grant colleges and which set aside the public land in every state in order to maintain a state college and state university. And we have just recently celebrated the 100th anniversary, and we now have in every one of our states universities which have educated our sons and daughters and helped make it possible to maintain self-government. So education, these two great schools, the city of Dublin, the country of Ireland, the future of the West, all are closely intertwined. And I can assure you that there are no honors that you could give me as the President of the United States than to have received the 3 distinctions which I hold today and shall always value. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the County Council, Prime Minister, ambassadors, if the day was clear enough, and if you went down to the bay and you looked west, and your sight was good enough, you would see Boston, Massachusetts. And if you did, you'd see down working on the docks there some Dohertys and Flahertys and Ryans and cousins of yours who have gone to Boston and made good. I wonder if you could perhaps let me know how many of you here have a relative in America who you would admit to, if you'd hold up your hand. I don't know what it is about you that causes me to think that nearly everybody in Boston comes from Galway. They're not shy about it at all. I want to express, as we're about to leave here, to tell you, this country, how much this visit has meant. It is strange that so many years could pass and so many generations pass, and still some of us who came on this trip could come home and here to Ireland and feel ourselves at home, and not feel ourselves in a strange country, but feel ourselves among neighbors, even though we're separated by generations, by time, and by thousands of miles. So you have made all of us. You send us home covered with gifts, which we can barely carry, but most of all, you send us home with the warmest memories of you and of your country. So I must say that though other days may not be so bright as we look towards the future, that the brightest days will continue to be those in which we visited you here in Ireland. If you ever come, to America, come to Washington, and I tell them, if they wonder who you are at the gate, that you come from Galway. The word will be out, and when you do, it'll be Caith Mila Fáilte, which means in Gaelic 100,000 welcomes. Mr. Mayor, clergy, members of the City Council, fellow citizens of Limerick, I want to express my thanks and also my admiration for the best speech that I've heard since I've come to Europe from your very I asked your distinguished ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Kearney, where is he? He has sort of an elfish look about him, but he's very, very good. I said, what is this county noted for? And he said, it's noted for its beautiful women and its fast horses. And I said, well, you say that about every county. But he said, no, this is true about this county. I want to express my pleasure at seeing the Fitzgeralds. I wonder if they could stand up. Could they?
raise their hand.
One of them looks just like Grandpa. And that's a compliment. I wonder if this is the last place I go, and then I'm going to another country, and then I'm going to Italy, and then I'm going back home to the United States. I wonder, before I go, if I could find out how many citizens here have relations in the United States. Do you think you could hold up your hand if you do? No wonder there's so many of them over there. Well, I'll tell you that they've been among the best citizens, and they behave themselves very well. And, you'd be proud of them. And they're proud of you. Even though a good many years have passed since most of them left, they still remain and retain the strongest sentiments of affection for this country. And I hope that this visit that we've been able to make on this occasion has reminded them not only of their past, but also that here in Ireland, the words freedom, the words independence, the whole sentiment of a nation is perhaps stronger than it is almost any place in the world. I don't think that I've passed through a more impressive ceremony than the one I experienced yesterday in Dublin when I went with the Prime Minister to put a wreath on the graves of the men who died in 1916. What to some countries and some people, words of freedom, words of independence, to see your president, who has played such a distinguished part, whose life is so tied up with the life of this island in this century, all this has made the past very real and has made the present very hopeful. So I carry with me as I go the warmest sentiments of appreciation to all of you. This is a great country with a great people. And I know that when I'm back in Washington, that I can, while I not see you, I will see you in my mind and feel all of your good wishes, as we all will in our hearts. Last night somebody sang a song which says the words of which I'm sure you know, which come back to Erin, Mavourneen, Mavourneen, come back, Arun, to the land of thy birth. Come with the shamrock in the springtime of morning. This is not the land of my birth, but it's the land for which I hold the greatest affection. And I certainly will come back in the springtime. Thank you. I want to express my thanks to the County Council. And this is where we all say goodbye. I want to express our greatest thanks to the President of your country, your great President, to your Prime Minister, to all the members of the government, and especially to all the people of Ireland who have taken us in. Ireland is an unusual place. What happened 500 or 1,000 years ago is yesterday. Where we are on the other side of the Atlantic, 3,000 miles away, we are next door. Well, there may be those removed by 2 or 3 generations from Ireland. They may have left 100 years ago their people, and yet when I ask how many people may have relatives in America, nearly everybody holds up their hand. So Ireland is a very special place. It has fulfilled in the past a very special role. It is, in a very real sense, the mother of a great many people, a great many millions of people, and in a sense, a great many nations. And what gives me the greatest satisfaction and pride in being of Irish descent is the realization that even today, this very small island still sends thousands, literally thousands, of its sons and daughters to the ends of the globe to carry on an historic task which Ireland assumed 1,400 or 1,500 years ago. So this has been really the high point of our trip. Last night I sat next to one of the most extraordinary women, the wife of your president, who knows more about Ireland and Irish history. So I told her I was coming to Shannon, and she immediately quoted this poem, and I wrote down the words because I thought they're beautiful. "'Tis it is the Shannon's brightly glancing stream, brightly gleaming, silent in the morning beam, oh, the sight entrancing. Thus returns from travels long, years of exile, years of pain, to see old Shannon's face again, oh, the waters glancing." Well, I'm going to come back and see old Shannon's face again. And I'm taking, as I go back to America, all of you with me. Thank you.